This is another one of the guitars sent to me by Jules. He always sends me interesting stuff. I don't know what's in it, I just know it has a little bit of damage, so you'll discover it along with me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do an introductory video diagnosing the faults on guitars, and then I'll do a second half video which will repair the faults if they're interesting. The diagnostic may prove that the guitar is boring, so that's if it's boring, then I won't show it. It's called a Cort X. It's got locking head, bridge, string holder, tuners at the bottom, nice color, little ding there and a little ding there, oh, and a couple of bigger dings there. Can you see the bigger dings? Bigger dings, bigger dings, bigger dings. Yeah, it could be the name of a song. Can you see that? I fix bigger dings, I fix bigger dings. Anyway, there you go, that's the bigger dings. So that's the thing that he's mostly interested in, getting these dings, which are a bit rough filled. Now the only way I can see of doing that is super glue layers. And it shouldn't be, oh, don't say it wasn't, give me some wood, touch wood. I was going to say it shouldn't be too hard, but it'll take several layers of super glue and a lot of buffing and polishing. There's a chip there, a chip there. What else do I see? Action looks lovely. Let me check the neck. And the neck has got a huge underbow, which means we can fix that. Yes, it's got a truss rod, if the truss rod's working. I keep saying that, if the truss rod's working, but some truss rods don't work too well. The pickups are a little bit low at the front, nothing exciting. The neck, the strings are slightly this way. You see it's closer to the E there than it is there. So if there is any movement on that, which I don't see, but maybe those nuts, if I loosen those nuts, I can move the strings across that way. Well, let's just check the electrics, shall we? Shall you join me in checking the electrics of this guitar? Well, that's why you're here, isn't it? Oh, switch it on first. Right. I'd switch it on first because I like to hear what the sound like. Well, that's quite clean, quite clean. That pickup looks in a strange position. I'll fix that. Yeah, it's working. Yeah, everything's working. Yeah, even the phasing. Let's put the volume up a bit. The electrics seem to be working, don't seem a lot of, I'll give them a bit of a clean. Is this an aftermarket head stock? No, that's part of it. That's all part of it for the Cort. There seems to be a nut missing there, I think, and there's a nut, not only is there a nut missing, but there's also one of the little rounded string holders. I don't know, can you see that? There's a little, there should be 3 nuts there, but I think I have spare ones. So the guitar itself looks pretty good all around, except for those dings. Somebody's dropping it on the floor, and there's another one at the bottom there. Somebody's been dropping it on the floor a lot, like. Okay, and there's a score there, and I don't know what the dirt is. There's a score there and a score there, so this is mostly cosmetic. So the next thing I do is make a video fixing it. Okay, ciao, bye, bye bye. After much thought and prevarication and studying it and looking at it and thinking about it lying in bed, epoxy resin or super glue or what is it I use, I looked at it again this morning and looked at it in more simple light, and it really is not that deep. It's been prefixed with either super glue or epoxy. So what I've done is I put another layer of super glue on, and hopefully that will dry up raised above the surface, and there's another layer of super glue on that, and perhaps what will happen is it'll stay above the surface, but even if it doesn't, I'll put another slight layer of super glue on, and then I'll scrape and polish. I think that's probably the best policy here. Well, I had to come in and give it another little dab because it was a little bit below the surface, and I put a dab on that one and a tiny dab more on that one, and it looks a bit rough, doesn't it? But hopefully by the time I finish scraping and buffing, it should look okay. And that's only, this one's probably will still need more dabs on the inside, and more, this one will probably, excuse the finger, and more dabs in the inside of that one. But I think this top part has been, is sitting where I want it at the moment. Yet another layer on, just to be on the safe side. I'd rather have a little mountain than a valley. Okay, when I put the clamp on it, that's a clamp to hold it in position, because I'm going to be standing while I do this. When I put the clamp on it, I rub my sleeve in it, which was not clever, but it'll all come off. Okay, next angle will be from the far side, maybe tomorrow because it's late tonight and I know I have to stand up to do this, and that's wet still. What am I talking about? Ciao. Do I want to do this? No. Do I need to do this? Yes. Can you see anything? I don't know whether you're going to see anything or not. I'm in the wrong mood to do this tonight. I think I got up on the wrong side of the bed. We all do from time to time. Now, nice sharp blade, and start. There's a huge dent there with filled, there's a huge dent there with filled, several layers, and I have to start. I just hope that my camera has enough space on it to do this. I can't see the camera because I have to twist it to the side to get this steady because it's on my bracket. So I've had to twist the camera to the side. This is always a problem one, because when it's on the edge can be undulating, and that can be a problem because you can spot the edge undulating, and you go too far. Now the owner knows that this is taking time, but I don't mind because it was in an awful state, as you probably saw from the beginning. But getting it to an acceptable state, you need patience. And on that one, which I think you can see my finger, we got down to the wood on that one, which was a concern because that means you went too far past the lacquer layer, past the paint layer. And so I had to build up those layers again and fill in the black paint. So that's going to be fun. I'd love to find a way to cheat on this. One of my least favorite jobs is doing this, except for copper leafing. The mat that I showed at the start, I just bought it as a joke because it was on wish.com, and it was free. You pay the postage, and I think the postage was $165. Something stupid, and I thought, that'd be interesting. This is coming down fine. It's coming down into the right shape, and it feels good. But that's not the main thing. The main thing is this edge, and I can't do it that way. When I finish doing this, I'm going to have to reset the guitar down flat and work on it that way. And at the moment it's all sort of feely. Right, okay, I'm not going to do any more than that. I think that just the end here. You want it to be perfect, but it's never perfect when it's damaged. Especially when you're videoing it to show how clever you are, and it turns out you're not clever at all. Right, now this side has to be done. I had to put another layer. I don't know what you can see. Let me put the other light on to see if it helps in any form or fashion. And I'll get my mirror. I have a mirror here which I can look on the camera. I think that helps a bit, doesn't it? This bit here needs to be done. Again, this is the same thing because there's chunks taken out of it. The front edge is the fussy part. This is fussy, but the front edge is this part that's on the edge of the guitar. If it was solid black the whole way through, you could just buff that out. But it's not. There's black paint, and the black paint's only a thin layer. So when I do this, I will try to sand to get it smooth. Whether I sand or what, I'm not sure. I'm saying sand, but we'll see. Right, okay, that's what I'm going to do on those two parts, and I'm going to do this. Now, can you see this? Let me look at my mirror again. Yeah, you can see this one. I have to do that one. Don't know what they were using this for, an axe or something. It's an axe. It's an axe, Jim, but not as we know it. See, a ding on the body is not easier to fix than it is on the edge. I'm moaning because that edge is fussy. I had to sleep in the middle of the day today because I had very sore eyes. I couldn't work today at all. Today is Saturday, that's right, yeah. I couldn't work and I had to sleep in the middle of the day, which I hate doing, which puts me in bad form. But the only way to get out of bad form is say, I refuse to be in bad form. So I'm going to say now, I refuse to be in bad form. So that's me. Right, okay. What I'm doing is, did I ever tell you, I meant to do this the other day. My very first job of work that I got paid on. Have a couple of guesses what it might be. It's a job that you wouldn't believe, it doesn't exist nowadays. But even in those days, it was ancient. Well, when I was going to school, I came to Northern Ireland in 1965, and they put me in. And can you see that? Let me just look at that. Hold on a second. You see that? Because it's, yeah, you can see it. Okay. Because it looks like there's a shadow on it, but there's not much I can do about the shadow. Okay, right. It was the same. Oh, let me put this light on it. Maybe that might help. No. When we came back from Canada in 1965, they put me into a sort of a relatively, I think most people would admit it was a rough school. And I was 15 years old. I won't tell you stories about the school, but I only lasted 6 months there. But I decided I wanted to earn some money. So I don't know how it happened. I think my mum knew the person. But I ended up getting up at 5 in the morning, going to my front door in the back street terraced houses of Belfast and listening for the sound of horses' hoofs, clippity-clop, clippity-clop, clippity-clop. And when they got closer, it would be delivering milk on a horse and cart. I would be the boy who would jump off the cart and deliver the milk, while the man who was the man controlling the horse would sit there. And can you imagine what it would be like? 5 o'clock on a cold winter's morning, delivering pints of, actually there were a third of a pint, a half a pint, and a full pint of milk. How far ago it was, a full pint of milk was 8d, and I think 8d now is 2 pence. That was for a full pint of milk. But you could buy thirds, which a lot of people used in schools. You give their kids clothes. So I'd get on the horse and cart, and we'd head up to the dairy headquarters to load the horse and cart with crates of milk, steel crates, freezing steel crates, and load them all up. And then we'd head off into the heartland of Belfast and look it up. Seaford Street, Chemical Street, all little terrace streets that were just right beside each other. And I'd jump on and off the horse and deliver milk. Now, the old git, let me just make sure you're recording here. The old git who drove the horse was a nasty old bugger. But I'm not just for effect, I'm not just saying this for effect, but if you go and look up Step 2 and Son, the old man on Step 2 and Son, well, this man must have been his twin. He was an old git with a cloth cap, and his nose ran down his face while he horse, and he wasn't nice to the horse, and he was a misery. So there was no chat, there was no friendly chat, never during all my time was there any friendly chat with me and him. He just sat there skulking and whipping the horse with his little whip to get him going. He wasn't awfully cruel to the horse, but he did some things to the horse that I could never have done, like whipping him even for a start. The horse went out a bit too far into the crossroads one day, and a bus hit its nose and it bled. And I was all upset about it. The man said, he'll be all right, it'll teach him not to go under the road again. Well, obviously I was not pleased. But this dairy was owned by either he was the Lord Mayor of Belfast, or he was at that time Lord Mayor of Belfast, but he was as tight as anything. So at the end of the week, when I went to get it was 5-day week, by the way, 5 o'clock in the morning, 5 days a week. And then I went to school afterwards. But for that 5 days a week, I got £2, 10 shillings for 5 days work at 5 in the morning. But what the old git used to do, not the man who rode the horse, but the man who owned the company, he used to pay me in pennies and half pennies. And when I got home, I was always 2 or 3 pence short. I had to count up all the pennies and found that I was always 2 pence short. But he was such a miserable old git, I just took it and accepted it. But there were times near the end when I eventually did leave that I ended up going out the front door and going down the back entry and hiding from the horseman. So he'd have to do it on his own because it was bitter cold and freezing. It was awful, you know. But notice I didn't name the dairy because the man is a well-known man. He's probably well dead now, but I don't want to offend his family. But that was my first job, delivering milk on a horse and cart in 1965 in the back streets of Belfast. I would get a break at about, I think it was about 8 o'clock. The old grumpy old git would go into a shop, and I think he had a friend, a female friend in there, believe it or not, who made him tea. And he told me to sit there. Didn't offer me anything. So he told me to sit there. But I would steal a third of a pint of milk, one of those small thirds. And eventually I got clever, and that was my break. I would steal a pint and a third, and then I'd pour the remains of the pint into the third, so he thought I only took a third. But that was a job and a half. It was a teaching moment for anybody. Let me just see. I can't see that well. Not particularly happy with that. I think you're going to see undulations on this. I can't do better. But I think you're going to see undulations whenever I do. Whenever I do use the buffer on it and get it shaped. I don't think it's going to be perfect by any means. Right. That's my horse tail now, and I think that's all I'm going to do on this side. The next time you see me on the camera, it's going to be doing the sides and then the scraping. And well, I think I'm not going to do any more. I'm going to get this finished, this side, but there's another couple of lumps on the other side that need to be done, but they're smaller. All right. I don't know if I need more light on or not, but you're now on the floor beside me, and I'm going to be able to go sit in a chair. Interesting thing about this guitar is that, have you seen how thick the back plate is? Look how thick that is. It's amazing, both back plates. It's an interesting way to do it. I quite like it, actually. Right, okay. Another sharp blade, different one this time. Come on, work for me, work for me. Right. All right, if you're not going to do it that way, I'm going to use another one. There's one stuck in there. I'll just use that one. Handy little thing, those. Very handy little thing. Cheap too. So I've got to do that. Do you know? It's possible I might end up using another coat on this. But it's so difficult because if you end up scratching the wood, you're sunk. But there's a drip there that I have to get rid of first. A drip of super glue that came down. And I have to take that away before I can think about the edge. The thing about this being patient, Lark, is if you make one mistake and you show a bit of wood, you can't hide that. And do you know something? I think I actually see a bit of wood down there. We'll see. So did you like my horse and cart tail? I can't remember the driver's name, and I was sitting beside him for months. Imagine sitting beside somebody who won't even speak to you. You're a piece of snot. Of course, I would be. In Northern Ireland, I would have been a guy with an accent that sounded like I was from Texas to him. and he would be, I would think his pint of beer was the only thing he was interested. Skinny old man, like Step 2 and Son. You must look up Step 2 and Son picture. He was identical with his nose running. And miserable too. God, he must have been taken from Step 2. Mind you, we couldn't have Step 2 and Son nowadays because it's too rude, too sexist, racist. Do you know what they're actually, I saw tonight, they're talking about having warnings before a comedian comes on the TV. Please be aware that you may be offended by some of the... Bloody hell. It's not like smoking a cigarette. Get a life, people. Don't watch TV if you're going to be offended. You know? There's lots of YouTube channels which won't offend you. You can always watch the Disney Channel 24 hours a day. Right, so already I'm getting past that. That's fine. But this is high gloss. That's what the big problem with this is. This is high gloss. And I don't have the facilities to respray anything in high gloss. I can get away with some respray, but not high gloss. So now I'm going to try to do this. But I also know I'm up against it because I can actually see the wood there. I'll try to show you that whenever I finish doing this edge. I have to have patience. Patience, 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 patience. Go too fast, press too hard, and you undo what you've done and make it even more difficult to get to the stage where you want to be. I'm actually pressing a little bit harder than I want to be here, but I gotta get through it. This has been in my bench now for 5 weeks, layer after layer after layer of super glue, and it looks like I may need another one on it, but a smaller layer this time, if everything goes well. And to get the edge in any form of shape, I'm thinking of using a fingernail file, but we'll see when we get to that. I must look to see if there's anybody who, you know, I've seen some of these professional sites showing you how to fill a ding, you know, a tiny ding, but and a major chunk out of it like this. I've never seen anybody. I don't think there's any shortcuts, when especially when it's on the edge of the guitar. Well, you can't have a sharp edge, right? But you got to have the edge coming out further than what the original edge of the guitar is. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to be able to get the... This is a little bit awkward. Let me just... You're not going to be able to get the right rounded radius. But I think I'm not going to take any more of that. You know what I'm going to do? Because I can see the wood there, I'm going to try to shape this a bit with that nail file. This is the most dangerous part. I have a very good nail file here. Now I've got to get the shape rounded. It's very hard to show you this on the camera, but I've got to round the edges And there's a sharp edge just there that I want to take away. You can actually feel the edges that are sticking out with the file more than you can see them. You can't do it with sandpaper. You just can't do it with sandpaper because your finger would go in and out the grooves and make them worse. So you've got to find the sharp edges and bring them down one by one. I wonder if I'm going to be happy with this job. And I'm bringing it round to try to get that edge. And then you always got to remember that even if you do get it smooth, you've got to go over it and buff it now and polish it, and which will take off another little bit. So I'm going to have to put another little layer of super glue there, because I'll show you before I finished, because it's just sitting slightly below the layer and I can see the wood. So I'm going to have to stain in there with something black and then put another little layer of super glue on. Now that feels, I can only say okay. This is almost impossible to do. I might even have to put another little drop of super glue in there. Right, what I'm going to do now is take a little bit of sandpaper. Just to get it shaped. Now that I've used something feels lumpy there. Let me just use this as a scraper to take that little bit away. Right, okay, it's just a little bit there. Let me just. Should have been someone who works on nails. Now, if you can see it from where I see it, I feel a little bit of lump there. All right, oh, that feels good. Yeah, I like what I'm doing here. All right. Oh, that feels good. Can I do it that way too? No, because it's not smooth enough yet. Oh, that's better. There's nothing more boring than watching somebody. I wonder if I should put music to this whenever I publish it, and if I publish it. Ooh, I don't know whether I will or not. We'll see. I might just put some music over it. There's a thing on TV, on the YouTube you have to watch called Baum Garden, B-A-M. I think I mentioned it before. Baum, B-A-U-M, Baum Garden Restoration. And he is a perfectionist. But it's paintings he does. Now, what I don't like to see here. Let me just see. Right, okay. There's another little bit of white there. And, so, right, okay, what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of white spirit on it so I can see it almost the way it might look when it's finished. Alright. So there's going to have to be a little drop of, that's not right either yet. There's going to have to be a little drop of super glue more there, and a little drop of super glue more there. Unless I can bring that down. But can I bring it down without getting near the wood? Let me just see. I'm going to try it and see. Actually, I don't need to try it. I'm going to put super glue in anyway. So let me just feel it's knowing. I don't want people saying to me, "Oh, you tried your best anyway." I want them to sort of say, "That's great." But I also know that I'm not going to get this perfect. Right, okay, so I can see that. Now I'm going to work up here so if you're bored, I'm sorry, but it's has to be done. This is the one that showed the wood through, and I'm nervous in case it comes through again, because that means more. I have to take it down and then bring it back up again, and you know what, I'm gonna have to put more super glue in there too. Right, what I'll do, I'm going to put some white spirit on it and take the camera off the stand and let you see roughly what it's going to look like. It's coming along there. So what I will do, this will be the last video I will do of me doing this. I'll get this finished. This whole guitar has to be set up still. And what I'll do is I'll get this finished, and when I'm doing the final video, I'll let you see the final thing, because there's nothing more boring than showing people scraping for hours on end. Right, okay. Now, if you see there, let me just show you where I have to work. It needs the black in there, and it needs some super glue. It needs a tiny touch of super glue there. Right, and it needs a tiny touch of super glue in there. So let me just give it a wipe and make it go glossy for you, let you see what it's going to look like. Here, give me some water. Right, okay, so it's not buffed yet, so hold on. That's it. Yeah, see, that's not buffed, but you can see where it still needs to be sanded and buffed. Okay. It looks as rough as a badger's arse, as they say, but I have to work on that. Okay.